right. Fitzy, you on?
I'm on.
Sweet. Patty?
Yep, I'm on.
Awesome. Fitzy, you see we got some, our ad spots full.
I do. Who's our first one?
Industrial safety. They've actually, oh, by the way, we got a little Chris Cruzy playing in the background. You like that? Yeah. So we're normally, we're supposed to do like a 15-second plug, but honestly, I want to take a little bit longer and just say thank you to Industrial Safety, and of course the other one, Wisconsin Lakes team. But Industrial Safety, I'm just learning more about them. They've advertised with us for years, but to be honest, I really don't know a ton about them. So I've been researching a little bit. Most people probably know them from their anything with a fire station or firefighters. They have all the equipment, etc. And they recently incorporated kitchen suppression system maintenance, inspection, and installs. Yeah, so
Ooh.
I have no idea what that is, but I guess it's
Sounds
a big
fancy.
deal, like a really big deal, especially in northwest Wisconsin. So we'll have more about that next week, and each show will give a little bit more information about that. But in the meantime, go to industrialsafetystore.com or check them out on Facebook. And the other one is Wisconsin Lakes team. Thank you to them. That is Katie Folstad. Katie Folstad, huge supporter in law enforcement. She was on, I think, the Shell Lake Police Foundation. I don't know if she still is. But she and Aaron Arf, like, first of all, Katie is like the hardest working person. And just the genuinely nicest person I think I know. And Aaron Arf, here's a real quick story. I don't know if we have time, but I don't care. We'll go over. Aaron Arf, actually, he used to be, I think it was called executive director of the Spooner Chamber when we first went live in October of 2015. He was our first advertiser through the chamber, and I remember it was for like, I don't know, some Halloween thing, and that was $175, and we had 3 people who started Dryden Wire. So at the end of the month, we all like split a check for like $58 each. So I just think it's great that he's our first advertiser in this kind of an advertising on this. It totally makes sense. But again, they're both fantastic human beings. They genuinely care about people, not just selling stuff. So if you are looking to sell or buy a home or a property, give the Wisconsin Lakes team a call or visit them on lakesteamwi.com. Yeah, sorry, I went a little over there, but it is what it is.
That's right.
We'll have to figure that out. Boy, all my buttons aren't working this morning. Good morning, everybody. It's Positive Tuesday today, February 15th, 2022. For Brandon Armstrong. Yep, so that was our intro. Good morning, Brandon from Montana. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden. And of course, you're watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With nearly 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business has provided quality work in roofing, garages, siding, window installations, kitchen and bathroom remodeling, vinyl and hardwood flooring. They can even build your house or business from the ground up, playa. Just like Fitzy and I, Professional Exteriors and Interiors believes that it's the little things that make a big difference. So give them a call today. The number's right there on the screen. Today, as you can see, Fitzy and I are being joined by the one and only and frequent guest on Dryden Wire Live shows, Miss Patty Schachtner. If you don't know who she is, or if you only know her from her political career, or on our now defunct Politically Speaking with Adam and Patty show, make sure you listen to this. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So, Patty, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for the invitation. Glad to be here.
Yeah, that's so cool. This is the first time. So you've been on many times before with me,
Yep.
and of course we had that Politically Speaking show with Adam Jarko and you, and then we had to stop it.
Yeah.
Because when he announced he's running for Attorney General, and I figured at that point we've already given his competitors enough content to go after him for.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
Need to put a pin in that for now.
So Patty's ratings are probably going to go up now that she's on with us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Adam who?
Yeah. Who is that guy?
Exactly. Patty, you had said something. It's like the 10 seconds before we hit our countdown. You had said that you had a story about Industrial Safety, who is one of our new advertisers for the show. Thank you, Industrial Safety. What is your story?
So, we get a lot of our supplies through them, and especially with COVID, they helped us with peppers and face masks and whatnot. And I'm also the president of Turning Point, and we had a COVID outbreak, and we needed some masks. So I called Adam, and I'm like, I need a case of masks. I can either buy them or you can donate them. I don't care which one. And he said, we will donate them. And they brought him to Turning Point to help us within 24 hours. It was unbelievable. I was really, really pleased, and it was nice to know that, local businesses supporting local organizations. It was great.
I've seen, and that's what I love about you, Patty. Because for people who don't know, who owns Industrial Safety?
Adam Jarko.
Adam Jarko, yeah. But I'm just saying, that is what. You didn't know that? Yeah, so there you go. Yeah. So we always like to start with something either positive that's going on, but I kind of want to not skip that, but Super Bowl. What were your thoughts of the Super Bowl, and maybe more specifically, halftime show? That seemed to be, I put up a post like, hey, what are your thoughts? It was like 1,200 comments. And they were all over the place. So, Patty, did you watch the Super Bowl? Did you like it? And what did you think of the halftime show?
Well, I wanted the Bengals to win, so I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Love the halftime show. I got, kids that were in the 90s. That was like part of our jam at our house. Yeah. So it wasn't a bad thing. I enjoyed it. And, my kids loved it. So there you go. I mean, I guess it depends where you are in that realm of music.
I suppose. Yeah. Fitzy, what do you think?
No, I thought it was great too. I thought the halftime show was really good. I thought it was well done. I think there was a lot of stars. And did you know none of those people get paid to play at the halftime show?
What?
They don't get paid. Yeah. None of the singers get paid for the halftime show.
So this is basically like you coming on the show every single week.
It's like Drydenwire.
We get an like the new advertisers. Yeah, you don't see a dime of that.
Right.
So basically the same thing.
Yeah, basically, and they paid.
Drydenwire.
Yeah, and they paid for that stage. So, right. And that stage and all them cars were their own cars and all their stuff. It's pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty good. I mean, obviously, I loved that it was a good game. I wanted the Bengals to win, but I predicted the Rams to win. I had them 23-17, so I was close. The halftime show, kind of the same thing, Patty. With us, Darush and I, we love that song, California Love, and we're singing along. This kids are like, who are these people?
Yeah.
I was surprised that 50 Cent was on there. I didn't know he was going to be on. I thought it was all good. Mary J. Blige, I thought, boy, she was rocking it. Yeah. But the Kendrick Lamar, I think his name, that was weird. That one is the only one I don't know much about him. But other than that, I thought, it was a pretty good show. It's not Prince good.
Right.
But it was, or Bruce Springsteen. That was a great one too. But yeah.
Well, did you see 50 Cent when he was getting up underneath? He presented himself, hanging upside down, and he did it himself. I mean, he did it without any help, and he's like 50 plus years old, and he's a little more robust now. And it's like, geez.
Yeah, I know. He's like $1.50 now.
Yeah, but it was a good video. You're like, oh, he still got it. Good for him.
Good for him. No kidding. And quickly, Valentine's Day yesterday. Did you guys have a nice Valentine's? Fitzy, what'd you do? Work?
Nothing. Yeah, work. No, we didn't. We just relaxed at home. No special. We cooked Saturday night. We had, we just nothing. We didn't do nothing all weekend. It was great. We're getting ready for hockey playoffs. So we got 3 weeks from today. Hopefully, Warriors are at state for hockey, and that's our plan. And so we've got state hockey Tuesday, Thursday next week, or Friday next week. And so it's all about hockey now.
It's all about hockey.
Yeah, all about hockey.
You and Mike Schaefer. So, Patty, Valentine's, what did you do yesterday?
Well, I made my wonderful husband some crab legs and steak.
He's so spoiled, by the way.
Yes, he is.
Like your husband and my wife are similar in the sense that you and I are both so lucky to have people that are so patient and wonderful in our lives. Because holy cow, like your husband's legit.
Yeah, being married to me for 43 years, jeez.
All right. It's also, by the way, just so you know, in case you didn't, it's National Wisconsin Day. Don't know if you're supposed to do anything, but it's National Wisconsin Day. It's also, I think, Election Day, but I'm not really sure for what. I think it's school boards, and is that it? Like mayor's races?
Primaries.
Primaries.
Okay. Oh, sure. So what is it for, though?
Shell Lake School Board's got one. Barron County, there's a county board member that's got 3 people running. It narrows the field down to choices. So I think there's 7 people running for school board in Shell Lake, and they narrowed it down to 6 or 8 for 7 or whatever it was.
How do you know about Shell Lake? You're in Barron County.
I know everything.
You know everything. Is it because you were talking to? Oh boy, I got to make sure my volume is up. Were you talking to Dave Wilson?
No, I wasn't. But Dave Wilson knows all.
Yeah. And just as a reminder, our shirts are now available. We talked about that last week. There is a link on our website, a banner ad, and plus an article thing in there. We've already had several orders, so I can't wait. Get those in by April 1st so we can order those Ben Fitzy Positive Tuesday shirts. All right, before Patty, I want to get into a lot of stuff with you and have a conversation about mental health and your role as the chief medical examiner in St. Croix County. We always want to make sure we go over anything law enforcement related, whether it's articles or press releases in Barron County or the Dryden Wire is done. I have one thing, but before I get into that, Fitzy, do you have anything that you want to make sure that we bring up before we get into the topics with Patty?
Yeah, I do. I have two. I don't know. They're not press release worthy, but I wrote an article. I write an article every month for our paper called the Senior Review, which goes all the seniors in Barron County. And this month it's on scams. But we've had two scams this month that affected people's pocketbooks. And we were able to recover one of them, but one of them was for $9,000. It was the Grandparent Scam.
Oh.
And we actually, with the help of UPS, got the money back. But they had put money in a box and sent it off, and because somebody said that they needed it, a family member, blah, blah, blah. So we've got to confirm all that. We've got to talk about this. Scams are a big deal with the IRS and tax season, and so we need to talk about scams a lot more. Not on this show, but everybody needs to talk about scams.
Okay.
And don't be embarrassed if you get scammed, because they happen every day. But we've got to stop some putting money in a box or gift cards in a box, or we don't accept payments in a box. We don't accept, the IRS doesn't take gift cards over the phone. I mean, whatever it is, because they're going to scam people now, and the IRS is going to call you and say, hey, you forgot to pay your taxes, but if you pay $150 right now, we'll wipe it away. You owe $300, but if you pay right now, we take $150 off. The IRS the federal government's not going to give us a deal on their money. So don't ever fall for those scams. And the second thing.
Hold on a second. So, Patty, I don't know how you feel about that. Then I have to be careful about how aggressive I state this, because I don't want to get this banned on social media. But putting it as lightly or as nicely as I can, people that scam other people, especially senior citizens, should be drug out in the street and shot. But that may be that's the nicest way I could say it. Yeah, you don't do that. But anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
We're learning more and more. I'm actually went back to school to get my degree in gerontology, and we're learning more and more about scams and senior citizens, and really with baby boomers, dying off now, people are looking to obituaries as an easy place to scam our senior citizens, and we have to really have communication and conversations with our elderly parents when this happens, because they've been married for 50, 60, 70 years and they're lonely and prideful. And this is an easy way to scam our senior citizens. It's happening everywhere. And we as adult children and grandchildren need to talk to our parents and grandparents about just what Fitzy said. You don't send money in a box. You don't send money in gift cards. That's not the way it happens. And this is also happening in social media, in friendships and dates. So they'll befriend them and they'll say, well, I'll come and see you. Send me $300. Oh, had a family emergency. That got taken care of. Can you send me another $500? So we have to really watch out for our senior citizens, because they're not as technology savvy.
This is why I tell my parents, and I've told them many times, they just need to sign over all their money to me. Therefore, they don't have to worry about getting scammed, because they don't have any money to send. Fitzy, did you know about that, about the obituaries thing? That's sick.
It's very. I mean, and they go after these people, and it's because, you're at home, Ben, but if your phone rings right now, most people are home. So if you're home, it's maybe you're retired or you're lonely, or you want to talk to somebody because you haven't talked to anybody all day. So they're nice to you, and then they're like, and the grandparent scam is a good one. And they got away from hospitals and telling people they're arrested, because that raises awareness. Now the new one is tow trucks. Well, your son or daughters, your grandson or granddaughter is going to get their car towed if they don't give us $100. Well, $100, we'd all help our kids all day long for $100.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But if it's, and they'll be like, well, I'm the tow company. I'm not with your grandson or granddaughter. So if you pay me, I'll have the truck drop the thing, and you won't have to worry about it. And so then, because they always say, we always say, has to talk to them, call them on the phone. And, a tow truck is going to wait for their money in 5 minutes
Mhm.
to confirm something. So don't don't fall for that, because they went to smaller amounts of money, because if I
It
lose a
doesn't
hundred bucks,
raise a red
it
flag.
doesn't
Mhm.
right.
Right.
So they
Correct.
went to, and if I sit at home all day and collect, if I call 10 people and get $100 from three of them, I just made $300, and it didn't cost me $1 to do anything. And
Mhm.
now I'm done with work and it's noon. So it's the scams out there are crazy right now, and
Mm.
we just got to get a hold of them. And we're lucky enough that, knock on wood, the lady UPS and our deputy got their $9,000 back.
Oh,
It's
good. You said there
crazy.
was two things.
The catalytic converters. We're having a catalytic converter, and it's a big thing across Northwest Wisconsin right now. What we need people to do is report anything suspicious to us. These are the thing. It's connected to your muffler. Your car will still run. You don't really know if it got cut off except until you start your car and it's really loud.
Mm.
Um,
Oh.
so you can actually, your car will still run with, luckily, but we got people stealing catalytic converters left and right now, and we need to do something. So if it's somebody suspicious, a car in your neighborhood, whatever it is, you got to let us know.
Oh.
We want to get on top of it. We're having lots and lots of catalytic, and not just in Barron County, all over.
Before I started Dryden Wire, I was running a car dealership, or I was a branch manager at a car dealership in Eau Claire, and I got sent down to Milwaukee for to. They were having some staffing issues and hiring, whatever. So they sent me down there for like a week at a time every month, and it was in the kind of the inner city of Milwaukee, and that was their biggest issue. So this was 9 years ago, something like that. And I remember saying, "What's a catalytic converter?" Because I don't know anything
I didn't
about
know
cars. I
it.
mean, I can sell a car, but I don't know anything about it. And no kidding, that was legit. So we had to put in this fancy, very expensive camera system, and they didn't even care. They just don't care. We're just going to go and take them. That was the biggest issue on that car lot. Were people just taking the catalytic converters? I'm like, is that a thing? They're like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
big money. I'm like, but who do you sell it to? So I can't remember what the answer was, and maybe Fitzy. I'm sure you do. They don't. It's not like they need a catalytic converter. I think there's something in it that is
Right.
valuable. What is it?
It's the metal in it. It's called rhodium, and it's worth. And if we could get the rhodium price to drop, it's kind of like copper. Years ago, people
Oh,
were pulling
sure.
copper wire out of houses, and so you were building a house, and you'd run wire, and the next day all your wire would be gone, and the copper
Mhm.
wire, So it fluctuates. So right now, the rhodium in a catalytic converter is worth gold. It's like gold.
Rhodium.
And so
Wow.
that's what they melt it down, or I don't know how they get that out of them. The bad guys don't. They take them to Eau Claire. The cities get cash for them. These people then sell it to junkyards, things like
Interesting.
that, and then they melt them down and get the rhodium out. I don't exactly know.
All right. Well, looks like Larry's
So-
going to have to message you about something that went on as well.
okay.
Yeah, and isn't rhodium? Isn't that the stuff that wasn't that on Black Panther, or is that something else?
I have no idea.
I can't remember what that was called.
I'll give us something
like
else. What was your question for me? We got to move on.
Oh yeah,
Eddie,
sorry.
I got stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we actually do. So I want to quickly get to this, though. We did an article. There's not much to this. It was, I think, a press release originally you had sent out a while ago. We put it up. Our headline was, "Court accepts plea to amended charge in fatal road rage case." This was regarding Clayton Lauritsen.
Lawrenson, yeah.
He was originally charged with Class A felony first-degree intentional homicide. The court accepted a plea for an amended charge of felony murder. One was life in sentence. This one is. I talked to your DA down there, Brian Wright, that was a pleasure just talking to him. But I think it was like 30 years or something. So just a little bit less. Are you okay with that? It's one of those things that, listen, they do what they have to do, but is it, come on, DA.
No, I had many discussions with Brian about that, and that's the best part about that is not everybody likes this idea of taking a deal. I mean, but Brian talks to the family, Brian talks to law enforcement. It's really the family gets to make. Obviously, Brian gets to make the decision, but he's not going to go. It's very similar to the, with the deal with the Amish buggy a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, the family got to decide that. People still don't like that today, that the Amish buggy. But that's what the family wanted, and it's probably going to be best for our community in the long run. The guy's doing great. It's going to work out. I think we're lucky. I think in this case, this is a good deal. I think we did the case. I think we could win the case, but you always take a risk with a jury, and you never know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And some people like self-defense. Some people,
Well, Patty could attest to that in the as a former politician. It's the same thing. It's like you never know when it comes to the voting. You can have all the polls in the world, but you don't really know until.
Depends also what's going on in the culture of everything that's going on in the community can change what you think is going to happen to totally the other way, just because what's going on.
So in there, I think it was our subheadline that medical examiner confirmed gunshot wound caused death of victim, and that was one of the things that I was hoping to talk to you about, Patty. And obviously, a lot of people know you as the former senator in I believe that was the 10th Senate District, right? When you whipped Adam in that special election. We always like throwing that in.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And now that is Rob Staffschulte. That's his seat now. But you are more than just that. That was 3 years, I think, total you were in for, roughly. But you have something else, and that's what I want to kind of segue into. Tell people what is it that you do, in real life for your job.
Yep. So I am the chief medical examiner in St. Croix County. I started as a death investigator back in 2003, was promoted to chief in 2011, and continue to do it now. And, when you think about the medical examiner's office, you think about life's book. And we determine cause and matter, but when you're born, first chapter is your birth certificate, and when you die, that's the last chapter, the death certificate. Life flows in between those. You get to fill the book with as many chapters as you want, but cause and manner comes down to the medical examiner's office, and so we are the people that go out to the scenes, and we have there's no justice or anything for us. We're there to figure out cause and manner for the decedent. We don't have anything. We have no judicial powers, anything like that. We just figure out what's going on and determine cause and manner.
You say the chief medical examiner. How many is that? Just the title, or is it there are other medical examiners too in St. Croix County?
So there is no actual regulations on medical examiners and coroners for people who don't know. Coroners are elected, so that's an elected position. Medical examiners are appointed by the county board. Forensic pathologists are the ones who do the autopsies. So St. Croix County has a chief medical examiner, and then we have 4 other investigators, deputy investigators.
Well, why is the county? Fitzy, what do you have in Barron?
We have the same thing. We got everybody went away from coroners because
we haven't. We still have a coroner, I think, in Washburn.
It's because you have less than 50,000 people. I think that's kind of the line. Yeah.
No, I think you can choose though now because we're under 50 and we have a medical.
Yeah.
So, but you can. Yeah, we used to be elected a while ago and we moved to medical examiner. I'm blessed that Patty wants to do it because no one wants to do that job.
Why? For people who don't know, no kidding. For people who don't know, why do you say that? Why is it we need someone to do it because nobody else wants to? Why is that?
You get to every death scene. Like I can go to a death scene, and if it's natural causes, we walk in, natural causes, and we walk out. Patty's got to go in there and take pictures, and every traffic fatality, every death in St. Croix County, every death in Barron County, our medical examiner has to come, and they have to stand there while we take the body out of the car, and they have to take pictures, and they have to look at everything, and they have to determine the cause of death. So it's not a fun job. It's and then elderly people to car accidents to crime scenes to everything. The medical examiner gets to make the decision on the body before we get a piece of the pie.
So Patty, why do you do it then? It doesn't sound like a very glamorous job.
Oh, it's not glamorous at all, and it's one of those jobs that very few people do, and the day that you stop caring about what you do is the day that you need to stop being in death investigation. That's just as simple as that, because as I was told years ago, nobody wants the medical examiner knocking on their door. we're like the balloon poppers, and that when you think about it, you dial 911 and you still have hope. You have law enforcement, EMS, fire. You're hoping that the situation can change. You think that it's very, even though you know it's dire, you still have hope. When the medical examiner shows up, that confirms your worst fears. Your life has now changed immensely.
So how did that work for you, by the way? So if everybody knows that you're the medical examiner and nobody wants to see you at the door, when you ran for office and you're knocking on everybody's door to get signatures, how did that work out? You're like, no.
A lot of people didn't answer. Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, you get some signatures, but mostly other people got signatures for you.
Probably
So
a good
I
idea in
didn't-
your case.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So the mental health aspect, you have always been passionate about mental health. So if it's, I don't even know how to ask this question. I'll just do as the most universal way I could think of is from your line of work, from law enforcement, because you deal a lot with law enforcement. What is kind of the state of mental health in these professions, in your opinion?
So when I look at public service, just that as a realm, when I started back in 2003, we had about, less than 100 cases a year. Last year, we had in St. Croix County, we had 851 cases.
What?
This year so far, we're at 130 cases. And then
It's
with
February.
Exactly. But you take the aging population. I mean, this is what's happening. So, with law enforcement, what I'm seeing is, if you would have like maybe 6 car accidents and this many suicides and a homicide here and there, you didn't see law enforcement that often because you didn't have as many unexpected natural deaths. Now I see law enforcement so much at unexpected natural deaths. And you have to be emotionally, aware of what's going on, because even if the person's 105 years old, their family still is grieving for them. And you have to connect with the families to, you still need to find out if there's any drugs. You need to, you're looking at it differently because the person may be all bruised up, but they are also on warfarin. So you have to be able to, you still have to go in and do your job. But now you're investigating so many natural deaths to make sure that everything is okay, because, we have a huge cremation rate. And then after you go through and the family dynamics change, 2 weeks later, they call the sheriff and they say, well, so-and-so pushed so-and-so down the steps, or they weren't taking care of them, and all this here. So just because it's a natural death does not mean that law enforcement is not impacted daily by natural deaths. And then on top of that, the complicated other deaths that they deal with. So these young law enforcement officers that are coming into the profession, they are exposed to probably more death than most people ever thought before in the profession. And I think it's really something, when people say people don't want to be law enforcement anymore or as many, it's because socially and emotionally, you have to give so much of yourself in law enforcement when it comes to death scenes. And if you're doing it over and over and over again, you have your own things you have to figure out how you're going to stay sharp in your profession. So I think now we have to really look at mental health and our law enforcement based, to keep them fresh and compassionate and empathetic, so that you don't get hardened, because it's easy. There are a lot of things that we see that nobody should have to see that are horrible.
You can't unsee it, right?
You can't unsee it. And, it doesn't, PTSD doesn't know, it's not just with veterans, it's with law enforcement, fire, EMS, medical examiners, nurses, doctors. But we have to really be open and honest when we talk about mental health and well-being if we want safety in our communities.
Fitzy, what do you think about that?
I think it's very well stated. And I think that's where we have to remember that we go on these calls, and it could happen right now, boom, 9 a.m, we're going to a suspicious death. And you're right, families watch too many TV shows and think that, Uncle Al must have pushed him down because he was fine yesterday, and his heart was perfect. And they don't know the answer. They don't know what's going on inside the body, but just because the person was walking and talking the day before, they think something bad must have happened to him because he died and he was fine yesterday when I was there. And so I think you get into that, and then we go to calls like this, and then we've got to remember that each person is a new victim, or a suspect. And because then you go to a trespassing call that you think, man, I was just at a dead person, and now you really want to talk about trespassing a 5-10 feet on a piece of property. I got better things to do, and people don't understand that about law enforcement. And we as cops have to remember that's a big deal. That trespassing call, or that domestic, or that threat, or that whatever harassment that might be the first time they're a victim. So we always have to remember that, and that's what's tough about law enforcement. Because you go from these 100 miles an hour to 5 miles an hour, and you're like, I don't need to go 5. There's plenty of cars at 50. I don't need to worry about the cars going 5. But yet the 5 mile an hour person might be, the first time that they've ever called 911, and then you push them off, and then it creates this, Facebook phenomenon, so I love Facebook, because everybody can give you their comments, and so I get it. So I think it was very well stated. So thank you, Patty, for what you do and the support you give law enforcement, because that's why we love this show, because I think it shows some different aspects of law enforcement, and now people understand medical examiners better, and I think it's just we're blessed by having medical examiners. It took us a while to find one when Mary Ritchie left us. She was a medical examiner forever. When Patty leaves, it's going to be hard to replace her, because there isn't people that say, "Hey, I want to figure out how people die."
And the 20 years of that. So, and actually, Patty, I do want to get into about you and what has changed for you in 20 years and how you kind of process that stuff. But I want to circle back to what you said earlier about law enforcement and have Fitzy's opinion as well. About you have more cases, and they're going out to more things, and with a lot of younger people that are going into it. What is the difference now in the average? I know there's no average, but that's why it's an average. In law enforcement, when you see law enforcement, you deal with them on a probably a daily basis, if not weekly, or multiple times a week. Do you see a difference in them if they're 25 years old today versus 25 years old 20 years ago?
Well, I've been working in EMS and fire and all that there since 1989. So I'm really old.
Wow.
And I know, but I've seen a natural progression. And I think what's really fun now with especially the younger law enforcement, they're more in tune with mental health. The older ones, especially, ones that are getting close to retire. We were kind of taught to put it in a closet. Just put it in a closet and deal with it.
Yeah.
And just keep
my dad does that to this day. He's sheriff for law enforcement for almost 40 years, sheriff for almost 30 years, Vietnam vet. That's what he's taught to do. And to this day, even he's retired, that's Dad. He doesn't talk about anything.
Yep. And I think, I think if we really want our folks to be healthy that are serving the public, then we have to then be open to the reality that mental health doesn't separate professions. It just, you have to really be open to wellness and overall wellness of your staff, because that there will help so that you don't have those the complicated things that happen that give negative repercussions publicly. Yeah. We have to know when, okay, I'm struggling here and help.
So, Fitzy, if you could kind of give us some insight here, because you've been in law enforcement for a while, and Pat, if you can answer this too, that's fine. If the older generation, the ones that have been in for a long time, are the ones that maybe it's a little more difficult for them, I wouldn't say difficult, that's the wrong word, but are maybe less likely to seek whatever it is, counsel, help, mental health to address that, right? Is the new generation more open to that? Fitzy, are you seeing that it's the stigma is kind of going away, or is that still there?
Well, I think the stigma is still there. I think we do a better job, and there's more options available through Zoom and all and private meetings. It used to be, we have an EAP program for our deputies, and EAP does so much more. That EAP is not just if I had a problem with, my head. It's now they offer counseling for our kids and how to become a better, for promotional. It tries to make you a better whole person. And so EAP isn't defined like it used to be. I mean, Holly Hakes is a great supporter of us and our department and what she does. So she might be a great guest to come on here and talk about this stuff but I think EAP has changed the vision of it. It used to be if I went to EAP, it was because, I couldn't handle my job. And now it's to make me a better person as a whole, whether it's financially, health, food, rest, sleep. I mean, it's not about just because I'm crazy.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think it's a lot better. And even for the older generation, I think we do a better job of selling EAP is to make you a better person at whole, not just your mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I worked in EMS for a lot of years, and I had a really phenomenal partner Friday nights for over a decade. And, lifelong relationships. When you work in this profession, you're lifelong relationships. And one of our team died by suicide a couple of years ago. And my partner at nearly 80 years old decided that he needed to go seek professional help because he realized that he had struggled with PTSD for all these years, and it took the suicide of one of our friends for him to realize that, that door, when it opens up, it doesn't close. So you need to get the help to process all the things that you see and hear and smell and all that there when it comes to these types of scenes. Because it's our brain is seeing totally unnatural things that does not go away.
Yeah, I've said it for multiple times in the show. I don't know why cops who goes into that profession. And now I think I'm going to throw in medical examiner because that's the stupidest job I've ever heard in my life. So thank you for doing it. I have a couple. We're almost up against our time already. It's already flying by. But I want to just get your perspective real quick, Patty, on COVID and how what you have seen that as an impact. Again, this isn't pro that. And if you want to talk about it, that's fine. That's not really the intent behind this. It's in the last couple of years, or since 2020, February, March of 2020, so last 2 years. How has that impacted your job, and is there any tie in there also what you see in law enforcement?
So at the beginning, when folks started dying from COVID, there was a lot of conspiracy theories and everything that was going on.
No, there wasn't.
But what really happened was death. We went, well, they're old, so they were going to die anyway. So who cares?
I've heard that, yeah. Well, I didn't hear who cares.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
So now let's fast forward 2 years into this. And did you know in the United States, we've had over 1 million unclaimed remains. So not unidentified, unclaimed, where families just no longer pick up their dead. And in my office, I have several unclaimed.
So they know they're there.
Yes, because death has become very inconvenient. If you don't go talk to your local funeral home, they only have funerals on Saturdays, and you certainly cannot have a funeral on Sunday when the Packers are playing, because that is like a sacrilege. And, and then also, we've created this environment where it's more, like when my grandparents died when I was in my 30s. My granddaughter lost 3 great-grandparents that she had a relationship with in the last 2 years, and she's 8. So, grief, and then you take this huge conglomerate of population. In St. Croix County, we have over 25,000 people that are over the age of 65. Every day in the United States, 10,000 people turn 65 every day. And this is going to continue until 2030. So this means that this number and this grief that we're feeling right now of all these elderly people dying is going to continue. This is going to be the new norm. COVID is not going to change it. When I look at COVID and how it impacted my medical examiner's office, we had 130, maybe 140, I think the number is, in the 2 years. And at that same time, nearly 1,700 people died of other things. So it wasn't as big of an impact as, when you say 600,000 people in the country, that's a big number. But when I say 124, one of which was my dad, in St. Croix County, it's not as impactful. And we have used this as a way not to be as respectful to the dead as we used to be.
Are we desensitized to it at this point?
I think we are, and we have to get back to we're judged by how we take care of our dead. And if death becomes inconvenient and we don't grieve and honor those people that die, what's in it? Why are we living? Death is, all that stuff is very important, and grief is important, and it ties into our mental health.
I think you make a really good point there, because we talk about death, and it used to be you had to read the paper every Wednesday when your local paper came out to see who died. Now it's on the radio, it's on the internet.
It's on Dryden Wire for free, by the way, even though everybody else is now charging for their obituaries and their paywall. We haven't, so just saying.
But that's, you look at all of the options now. So we were like, they died, and now it's like, somebody dies every day, and now we used to read the obituaries, and now it's just like, wow, we've become very desensitized to it, and our younger kids have, because they're like, death used to be a yearly thing, and now it's a weekly thing. They know somebody, but it's the age of the population. That's the same thing with jobs out there, and we can get into another hour presentation on jobs. There's less people in the world, so there's going to be. We can't keep building businesses and expect that to be a job.
I agree, and I can attest to the kind of that desensitized to it. Now, part of it's just my job, kind of like I'm assuming, like Fitzy, when you go out, or Patty, when you go out to a scene, you see something, you can't look at it and go, "Oh my goodness, my heart." You have to, do your job. And there are times that I'll have to post 20 obituaries, because we do it for 6 counties in one day. So I look at it as 20 of them. Okay, each one, 10 minutes. That's like 2 hours to do all these. So I go through them, and I don't stop and look at them. And part of it is because that would be very time consuming. But every once in a while, I will catch something in an obituary and read it, and it really kind of hits me that I don't stop and think about them. That's I've never thought about that before. That's really interesting.
Well, when you become work in death, or last responding, as I call it, you become Fitzy's the first Fitzy's the first responder. I'm the last responder. Right. But when you work in this work, you become a little more nuanced in your way of thinking about life and how people are in life. And it's like, I've seen the most magnificent homes with no love, and I've seen squalor with so much love that it makes you look at life differently, and what you want and how you want to be remembered and who matters to you.
We have a quick question here, and then we have to move on. But Tiffany, do you think some people are picking up their loved ones that have passed because they can't afford? I think it means don't, or haven't picked them up because they can't afford it. Do you think that's a factor, Patty?
They always have the option to pick them up. We don't charge people for their unclaimed remains.
The funeral expenses, I would guess, and she's referencing. So I would guess that's probably true. I would agree with her.
Okay.
Well, in our county, because the county, so we pick up transport and do all that. So we have a morgue. So our bodies come to us. So, we talk to the families. A lot of it has to do with unsettled family dynamics, that maybe there was mental health. Maybe they're just ticked off at that person and they haven't talked to them. It's very nuanced. Families are complicated, and you got people that have moved to these areas and have lived here for decades that don't have any family here. That that they don't have anybody, and they didn't have their stuff in order. So there's literally they might have friends, but they have no next of kin to pick them up.
All right, so last question on this, and then I just want to ask you a couple of kind of lighthearted political questions for you, Patty. And Fitzy, I want your opinion too. But so what is the answer here? Not answer, but what does this look like in 5 years? Or what do we want it to look like in 5 years for law enforcement, medical examiners, the people that are in your fields that see this and the mental health aspect of it? Where do we want to see it in 5 years? And how do we get there? Are we heading in the right direction? What do we need to do? How about the community? I'm not in law enforcement. Everyone in my family, except for my mom and I, have been in law enforcement in some way, shape, or form. What can I do? What can community do? What do you guys need to do? What's the answer here?
So I think it really is working collaboratively, not only with law enforcement, but we have a chaplain program now in St. Croix County to work with the families, having great relationships with the funeral homes, and really, when it comes to unexpected home deaths, it is going in there with an open mind, because you might see someone living in squalor. You might, but that was their choice. They wanted to live in that house because that's all, the only asset they have was that property, and they couldn't move to town. Or maybe that was where their wife that was there for 50 years with them. And you just have to be open mind and know that as we go forward, these type of scenes are going to be more and more part of law enforcement. And you can't let your professional eyes down. It's always going in as, what happened, and they are a victim until proven otherwise. And so you have to be professional and also compassionate at the same time.
Fitzy, what do you think? How do we get there in 5 years? What can we as a community? What can I do?
It's Patty said the word community. I mean, it's all of us doing it and supporting each other. It's as simple as that. I'm going to simplify it and just say community, support each other, don't knock people down, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
I mean, some days will be tougher, some days will be a lot better, but as we've always said, the little things make a big difference, and that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, and maybe not defund the police. How
sure.
about that? All right, so politics. So here's I have 3 questions for you. A bigger surprise. Beth Myers in the 74th Assembly District, and Janet Bewley, the 25th Senate Senator, both have announced that they're not running. So, Patty, I want to ask you, which one of those two was the bigger surprise to you? Now, you may have known before it was all announced, but I mean, at some point you had to learn about this for the first time. Which one of those two was a bigger surprise to you? Beth Myers not seeking re-election, at least in the 74th, and Janet Bewley not seeking re-election.
Actually, neither one of them were a surprise.
No, you had to pick one. That's the question.
No,
that's the question.
Well, okay, Beth. But I seen Beth is doing a lot more artwork now. It's like, so she's already, looking into enjoying the taking away. She's done as much as she can do for her career. And now it's like making life simple and enjoyable for this chapter.
Yeah. Are you Democrats a little? Are you Democrats a little upset because you dumped $800,000 into her campaign last time, and now she's not running again? That's awesome.
The money in politics, if we could
it's
use
ridiculous.
that on mental health, man, we would.
Yeah,
really
that'd be great. Okay, here's the next one. A bigger surprise. Remember, you got to pick one. The last one you said neither right away, and this one I think you'll say probably neither. But bigger surprise: Romaine Quinn running. He's running for Janet's spot there, or Adam Jarkar running for Attorney General. Which one surprised you more: Quinn running or Adam Jarkar running for office?
Adam running for.
Me too.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that. That's a statewide. And that at the end of the day, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be a brutal thing, and I applaud anybody that steps up to run for any office.
Yes.
But you're putting your family and you put everyone goes through this at the same time, and it's not easy.
No, especially no. That's why I love following you on Facebook, because you put something up last week. It was a shared story from some liberal media outlet. And it was something about him deleting tweets or something, and you went talk about canceling yourself or something. It was so funny. So yeah, you're a part of that, of going after him. I just think it's hilarious. So last thing there is, do you think there's a question for both of you, not if you want anyone to win or not. Can Adam, he has to go through the primary first and beat a primary opponent, and then of course Josh Call. Do you think he has a shot on being our next Wisconsin Attorney General?
In my opinion, it's too. It's going to come down to raising money, and you can have all the messaging that you want if you don't have the money to back it up
Right.
and be able to do all that. So he's got a lot of money to raise,
Yeah.
and you're talking millions. And that it's not, $10,000. You're talking millions of dollars that he's going to have to raise for this here race. And then he's going to have to figure out how to navigate the southern part of the state and the more diverse parts of the state. We can say whatever we want. We are not that diverse up here.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and he's going to have to figure out how to he needs diversity.
Yeah.
He needs diversity to win that race.
Yeah, he does. Fitzy, how much money have you the most money you've ever raised in any of your campaigns?
Well, I've only had, luckily, knock on wood, one campaign, and then I've ran unopposed and hopefully run unopposed one more time.
Right.
But, it cost, I think it was $14,000, $16,000, somewhere in that. It was, almost 13 years ago or 12 years ago that I
How much did you raise? Do you remember?
Almost all of it.
Okay, so like 15 grand,
10,
so we're talking.
Yeah, at least 10 grand of it was, raised, so.
Yeah,
And
that's just weird to think about. These millions of dollars. Like the 25th, well, I don't know who's going to outrun the Democrat for Janet's seat that Romaine Quinn's running for, but they're going to pump a lot of money. We're going to see a crazy amount of money pumped into Northwest Wisconsin this election cycle with so many seats open. So awesome.
Yeah, and I raised $600,000 with my election.
Wow. For the Senate seat. Man.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
Think of how many homeless people we could have fed with that, Patty.
I know. I'm with you.
All right, last words here. So, Fitzy, what do you have coming up this week?
Hockey. I mean, that's
hockey. Your life just revolves around law enforcement and hockey.
Law enforcement and hockey. I mean, that's really what it revolves around. It's playoff time, so good luck to all the sports teams: girls basketball, boys basketball, gymnastics, hockey. It's the fun time of year for high school sports. So get out, support your local high school hockey, basketball, whatever team. So. All
right, Patty, how about you? What do you have coming up this week?
We're working on a big project at the medical examiner's office. We are getting a CAT scan machine. So we're going to be able to do 3D CAT scans of all of our decedents so Northwestern Wisconsin does not have access to in-state forensics. So we're going to be able to do medical grade CAT scans of our decedents so that we can clear up our scenes faster, rule out trauma, and get our job done faster, and save the taxpayers money, because that's what we do.
That's what we like to hear. What are you talking about? You're a Democrat. You don't save taxpayers money. Just kidding. Yep. So Drush and I are going to go away for one of our weekends on Sunday. So I had to quickly get that done because yesterday, Valentine's Day, I called like 9 times to our local flower shop to get flowers delivered, and every time the phone was busy, over 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, no big deal. We don't exchange gifts or anything. I just send flowers. She comes home at lunchtime yesterday and has asked me to get something out of the back of her cars, and I did, and it was this huge box. It was a Craftsman toolbox, like on the wheels with the drawers and stuff. And I'm like, what? But we never exchanged, so I felt terribly. So now I have to, spend a bunch of money this weekend for a getaway, and plus I should probably get some tools at some point because I don't have any tools. But I got the
you got the box.
Yeah. I'll get one of those positive impact drivers that you have, Fitzy.
Yeah, I got mine are brand new still. I'm keeping them new.
Yeah. So you have the tools, and I have a toolbox.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks, Patty, for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
Awesome.
It was good to see you both. Talk to you soon.
You bet. You've been watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. Like Fitzy and I, Professional Exteriors and Interiors believes that it's the little things that make a big difference. With nearly 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business provides quality work both on the outside and on the inside of your home or business. Give them a call today. The number's right there on the screen. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for watching. And, of course, special thank you to our guest, Patty Schachtner. We'll see you right back.
What? Schaefer's comment up there.
Well, I'm trying to read stuff.
Maybe don't call the day of Valentine's Day and look for flowers.
Well, we don't like Mike Schaefer, by the way, Patty. No, no.
We love Mike Schaefer.
No, we really don't. We'll see you right. Mike Schaefer, order a shirt, Positive Tuesday shirt, then you can talk to us. We'll see you right back here next week. Until then, remember, it's the little things that make a big difference. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a blessed day.